Mic check testing. One, two, three. Check, check, check.
Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. It is 6 p.m. Madam Clerk, could you please call roll?
Commissioner Long,
Here.
Commissioner Madrid,
Here.
Commissioner Thomas is on his way, Vice Chair Diedrich,
Here.
Chair Ledoux.
And I'm here too. Thank you. Ben, do you want to lead us in the pledge, please? Thank you, Ben.
Hey, everybody online is here.
We got, funny, we got quite a room tonight. I guess the word's getting out about how fun these planning commission meetings are, so it's good to see everybody. Chris, we were waiting for you. Welcome. So, let's see. We do have a presentation tonight on item number 4, the Menifee Complete Streets Plan. Do we want to introduce that item or go ahead with the presentation?
Thank you, Chair. Carlos Geronimo, Principal Engineer in our Capital Improvement Division of Public Works, will introduce this item and our consultant team.
Yeah. Good evening, commissioners, staff, and members of the public. My name is Carlos Geronimo. I'm the Engineering Manager for the Capital Improvement Programs Division, and I'm here to introduce the item 4.1, the Menifee Complete Streets Plan. This is a study that we've been working over the last year or so. Our management analyst, Jenny McConneville, she's been heading this project, and I'm going to bring her over here so she can introduce the team and get the presentation going. Thank you. Jenny? Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Jenny McConville. I'm the management analyst for the Capital Improvement Program Division of Public Works, and I, as Carlos mentioned, am the project manager for the Complete Streets Plan. We've been working on this for about 14 months, and we are looking to take to council in July for adoption. So we wanted to give you kind of an overview of the process so far and kind of what the forecast is for the plan once it is adopted. Our consultants, KTUNA, are here. We have Joe and Morgan. They've been instrumental in putting this plan together, and we're kind of in the last, few weeks of wrapping it up. So without further ado, I'll bring them up to go ahead and give the presentation.
Thank you, Jenny. Good evening, members of the council, the public, and city staff. My name is Joe Punslon with KTUA. I'm a principal in charge of the project. I'm accompanied by my colleague, senior planner Morgan Ruby. So we're going to do a quick presentation on the Complete Streets Plan. The initial agenda is we're looking at the background of the plan. We're going to talk a little bit about the public outreach efforts that entailed in the last year or so, the data analysis that we performed, and then the priority project locations and some of the details that went into each of those recommendations. Just a real quick on the Complete Streets background. It is funded by Caltrans, so it is a state-funded grant through the Sustainable Communities Transportation Grant Program. As Jenny mentioned, we have been working on this project for the last 14 to 15 months. We started last year in February 2023. We're looking to bring it to council next month, July 17th, for adoption. So what is Complete Streets and how will it benefit the city? In essence, it really is to create a plan and a guide towards safe and comfortable citywide network to accommodate all modes of travel. So we're looking at making improvements for walking, biking, public transit, and of course automobiles throughout the city. It is an essential component in terms of reducing vehicle miles traveled, but also really improving the quality of life for the residents of Menifee, particularly as growth continues to occur here in the city. We looked at many documents and a lot of research as part of this project. We wanted to be consistent with the ongoing efforts that the city has already started and is currently going through. So we wanted to ensure that our plan was consistent with the general plan and really the community values that we understood as really important here in the city of Menifee. So we looked at some of the policies like improving the roadway system, improving the bicycle and pedestrian network, improving quality of life, integrating these plans also with the future development that's happening within the city, but also the values that's put forth as part of the city's values as being able for people to live, work, and play within the city of Menifee, and also to avoid maybe even avoiding the 215 as far as trying to get up and north-south within the city and looking at other ways of traversing through the city. One of the things that was important to this plan is really identifying some of those future development projects that are occurring within the city, but also identifying when we're developing our projects to integrate those projects into our Complete Streets plan. So as you see here, we have a map of the city's land development projects and how and the map on the right, how we integrated them into our planning process. So when developers come in and are looking to build build up their properties, they can reference the plan to see what other amenities can be conditioned into those projects. We did also complete the 2020 Active Transportation Plan, which is a precursor to the Complete Streets Plan. While they have very similar attributes, the key difference really is the Active Transportation Plan was really looking at the system citywide, network-wide, looking at all the different connections. The Complete and really lines on a map with some detail. The Complete Streets Plan really is the next step on identifying what are those priority corridors through a robust community engagement process, and then going into actual conceptual designs, which we're wrapping up today. So from lines on a map to actual designs that can go into a CIP list, or even going procuring some grants. So to talk a little bit further about our community engagement efforts, Morgan Ruby will give you a brief overview of it.
Thanks, Joe. So I'll walk through our public outreach efforts. It consisted of a series of public meetings, citywide events, a 3-day design charrette survey. Beginning with the project website, this was a landing page on the city website that provided a forum for the public to go and learn about what are Complete Streets, the elements that make that up, background on the project, as well as ways to get involved, both in person and digitally. They had links to our survey, both a questionnaire and an online comment map. The online comment map was great for folks who couldn't otherwise participate in person. And it also had an email contact for people to have a direct line of communication with the project manager, Jenny, on the team. We formed a project advisory team. This was made up of individuals based on their expertise and commitment to the project's purpose, made up of representatives from Caltrans, the police department, the school district, the senior committee, the Bike Temecula group, and several others, various other departments from the city as well. The purpose of the project advisory team was to provide feedback and insight throughout every phase of the project, existing conditions, outreach, data prioritization, developing goals and vision for the project, and they really helped us at each step of the way. We attended 2 citywide events. First, the Independence Day celebration. This was where we heard observational feedback from people on their experiences of existing conditions, where in Menifee is an important focus for them, as well as handing out our survey, and we got a lot of surveys, I think almost 70 surveys taken that day. We also attended the Clean Air Day Expo. This was during our project prioritization phase, so we had people help vote on our top 20 projects identified, which are the most important to them. We also partnered with SCAG's Go Human campaign, their kit of parts, which provides 5 mini demonstration projects. You see in the bottom middle photo, a creative crosswalk, pedestrian refuge island. There's also a parklet, bulb outs, protected bike lane, so that people can firsthand experience what it's like with these infrastructures. We also did a 3-day design charrette. This was the centerpiece of the outreach portion of our project. The charrette was 3 consecutive days of a highly interactive and collaborative process where community members could gather over a series of different activities, including walk audits, workshops, presentations, sketches. So walking through each one, on the first day, we had a walk audit along Hahn Road with our project advisory team. When we're across Newport as well. And some feedback heard that day was that, not surprisingly, cars are driving really fast. It's really noisy, which makes it hard to, in a walkable environment, to hear who you're walking with. The senior representative of the group mentioned that curb height was pretty tall for people with physical limitations. Those are just some samples of feedback we heard. That night, we attended a workshop at the Heritage High School. We had a lot of parents from that school, as well as from Liberty High School and other members of the public as well. A lot of the concerns we heard that night were concerns around the drop-off and pickup, specifically in regards to the proximity to the California 74. One parent even said that parents will actually stop at a red light on the 74 and have their kids run across the highway to school, which is, of course, very alarming. And we A lot of parents from Liberty High School attended as well, even though that is outside of city limits. A lot of the students do live within the city of Menifee. So that was really important for parents that they need to go to work. They can't drive their kids to school, and so their kids are walking on the side of the road without sidewalks. The second day, we attended a charrette at the Paloma Valley High School. We had the entire school's cross-country and track team there. They mentioned that they run around the school in winter months. It gets dark early. There's limited street lightings. Drivers aren't yielding to them in the crosswalk, and they express concern for their safety around the school. The third day, we had another walk audit in the form of walking bingo with the Sun City Civic Association, where we provided a bingo card of different Complete Streets elements to help facilitate discussion around Complete Streets elements, so the mid-block crossing on Cherry Hills Boulevard, high visibility crosswalks. Some of the observational feedback we heard from participants was that even though there is that mid-block crossing on Cherry Hills Boulevard, it's more of a yield than a stop, so they're a little bit wary of crossing, and the crossing distance was, or the crossing time was a bit short. And as well as some of buildup of sand at the curb walks that is a little bit slippery with mobility aids. So that was some of the feedback we heard from that day. And then finally, we attended a open house style workshop at the Case Anacero Senior Center during the lunch hour, where we provided a brief presentation and then had a bunch of maps and boards and analysis set up that people could come up and join us and provide conversation. So there was a lot of conversation around golf cart zones, some drainage issues, and other concerns. And with that, that wraps up the outreach. I'll pass it back over to Joe to talk about data analysis.
Thank you, Morgan. So as part of our analysis, we did look at, we collected data, destinations and attractions throughout the city, really looking at where those are located and what are the connections that can be made for the demand for bicycling and walking. We also looked at where the gaps are located in terms of sidewalks and bikeway network and trying to close those gaps throughout the city to help us identify those top priority projects. More importantly is safety. As Morgan mentioned, there's a lot of safety concerns for those that we talked to throughout the workshops and the walk audits. And so we did a comprehensive safety analysis as part of this project, looking at where the walking and biking hotspots are throughout the city. We also did an automobile hotspot as well. And we used a big data source called Replica to really identify where walking and biking is happening throughout the city. And this map kind of highlights where those volumes are located. And it's no surprise, Newport has the highest walking and biking in roughly one of the areas of walking and biking in this town center area with for residents. So on top of all that, while data analysis was important as part of identifying those projects, it really was driven by the community. The community were the ones that drove the selection of the projects. When the projects were a list from the active transportation plan, they're the ones that told us where they felt there is the most need for walking and biking improvements. So the top through that process, we had about 20 projects that came out of that list, and then through voting exercises and other propensity type rankings and data analysis, the top 5 projects that rose to the top, really community driven, was around Paloma Valley High School, Newport Road, no surprise there, Antelope Road, Hahn Road, and Scott Road. So these are the projects that went into the conceptual design I showed earlier, and I'll kind of go into a little bit more detail there. And then the other projects, I'll kind of give a brief overview of how those were developed as well. So project number 1, Paloma Valley High School, we were really looking at adding bike lanes on Craig Avenue and Bradley Avenue, but more importantly, formalizing on-street parking on the south side of Craig Avenue. This was a concern for many of the residents where there is no formal parking there, so there's kind of parking wherever people need to park to pick up their kids. And there's a lot of site issues when people are coming in and out. So we looked at formalizing parking there, adding a sidewalk, maybe some landscaping, but also some buffered bike lanes through that area so cyclists and pedestrians have a way to get across. And a lot of these recommendations actually came from the students from the track team and the cross-country team. And Newport Road, we all know about Newport Road. Really, this was closing the gap between the existing bike lanes on Newport Road over the 215. With the available space north of Newport Road, we were looking at a multi-use path on the north side. So we're looking at keeping the existing lane lane widths and the lane configuration exactly the same as it is today, but adding a multi-use path on the north side so pedestrians and bicyclists can traverse this area, this section of Newport Road. Antelope Road, another one of the biggest things that people were saying is that we need a better north-south connection, particularly to access Mount San Jacinto Junior College, but also Town Center. So Antelope Road actually came up to the top as well, looking at connecting the north side to the south side of Newport Road with bike lanes, buffered bike lanes, also enhanced pedestrian crossing and some of the green conflict striping to really make that connection to Mount San Jacinto. And Hahn Road really was preparing for the growth around the area and providing better access to the town center area and then the shopping center area as well. Also making connections to the existing multi-use path that's there. So we're looking at adding buffered bike lanes north and southbound on Hahn Road, but also making a connection to the existing multi-use path and the future pedestrian bridge that's being planned there. Yep.
Can you define a buffered bike lane? I see the drawing.
Oh, there it is.
Is it something other than striping, or is there any kind of like, I've seen in some cities like in San Francisco, they'll put like bumps, so
Yeah.
moves over. I mean, what?
So the buffered bike lane really is, you could be about a standard bike lane, but you have additional 2 to 3 feet away from the vehicle. So that's where the kind of the perpendicular striping occurs. So you're providing additional space for motor vehicles. So you're providing a wider space for cyclists. You're correct. There are other facilities that have vertical separations and those types of things. Those are that can be preferred in some areas. Maintenance can be an issue as well as those because you can't get street sweepers and that sort of thing. But what we're looking at is with the buffered bike lanes, if they get, when they get installed, the city has the opportunity to develop those in the future. So we're already kind of thinking ahead. First step, get the bike lanes in. Next step, maybe in the future, maybe you can have some of those vertical elements. And then, oh yeah.
So does that mean that width of our highway is going to be widened to put in that buffer?
No, the lanes are going to be narrowed a little bit just to accommodate some of that space, yeah. So the lanes are pretty wide already, so it's just kind of doing some lane narrowing to accommodate space. So we're not trying to break any curb, we're not trying to manipulate the right-of-way anyway other than just some lane widths.
Well, I was just thinking of future projects where you'd require more right-of-way, that's all. But you're saying that's not the case.
Not the case with the way, yeah, some of these designs are. And then finally, Scott Road, as the future of the southern part of the city develops, we're kind of looking ahead what those recommendations could look like. Again, also conflict striping, buffered bike lanes, additional pedestrian crossings, and really some intersections, some additional striping across intersections to navigate cyclists through some of the larger intersections that the city has. And then the final is the last 6 to 20 projects. So this was also ranked by the community, as well as Morgan mentioned some of the other events we had the community vote on what's important to them. These did not go into conceptual design, although we did go into, you'll see they're actually quite longer than the top 5 projects because we looked at the entire length of these corridors and really looked at some recommendations that can be done. We still did takeoffs, we still did measurements, what could fit in that area. We just did not draw them all out, but the recommendations are there for the city to be able to implement in the future and also coordinate with the future development. And then what's important also is developing an implementation plan. Safe Streets for All grant is really a federally funded grant program that requires an implementation plan as part of your active transportation plan. And so we wanted to ensure that this active transportation plan would support that grant program. So we developed an implementation plan that looks at the various steps in order to implement these projects, but also a low, medium, and short, medium, and long-term timeframes in order to get these projects built. And then finally, the funding sources. There's still quite a few funding sources out there for complete streets as the greenhouse gas emissions and those mandates are still being are still being required, there are a lot of other funding sources that this plan, not only the active transportation, but also the complete streets plan, will help support the city to allow to go after some funding to apply for some of these grants for future implementation. The city is already, kudos to your city, you already used the active transportation plan to already fill in some sidewalk gaps, fill in some curb ramp gaps, and really get also some more infrastructure built in the Roma land area. So while the ATP did that, this project, the Complete Strand, will actually will actually expedite some of that process with the designs that are part of this plan. So with that, that concludes our presentation. So very pleasure to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Joe. Do we have any questions for Joe? No?
Actually, I do have one. How often are these complete street plans updated? Is it a 5, a 10-year cycle?
Yeah, preferably it'd be every 5 years. Recommended Menifee do theirs every 5 years for how fast you guys are developing. And then it's going to vary from city to city, especially if you have the resources to update it. But typically between 5 and 8 years, you want to update your plans.
Go ahead, Randy.
So does a lot of this money for these improvements come from the capital improvement budget?
For this project, or it's going to depend.
You said you had grant money.
Yeah, grant money, CIP money. The purpose of the way we this plan is we've got projects and we've got designs that when another street is going to be resurfaced or whatnot, you can then, hey, our complete streets plan says let's put some bike lanes here. Let's go ahead as part of resurfacing. Let's go add the bike lanes here to save us some money, save us some time. It's a little bit more, it's more efficient that way. So it's kind of helping you plan ahead. Depending on the money sources, that's going to be dependent on your CIP budget and priorities as well. And then if you just don't have the funds, then yeah, definitely the grant's the way to go.
What other cities are doing this right now?
A lot of cities. Yeah, it's the whole Sustainable Communities Transportation Grant probably funds 25 cities a year. We're wrapping up like 4 of them right now throughout California, but I think ongoing, there's probably about 20 to 30 cities that are every year that are doing complete streets plans.
And you are calculating less vehicle miles traveled to do the final product?
Not in the final product. That's not part of the calculations, but the idea is that most of these will reduce vehicle travel, yeah.
And no safety, no extra cars running over people or anything?
Yeah, and so what we're looking at is as long as if the more, what we've seen also, the more the proper infrastructure is built, yes, you'll get more people out of their cars. But it's got to be, you've got to have the right infrastructure, the right destinations. It's almost like there are times you can stripe bike lanes everywhere, no one's going to use them. Right. But the way we went through the process is community driven. If you just go strictly data driven, that might give you a whole different result than what the community wants. When it's community driven, especially with the way the grants run, you have a higher chance of getting funded. So
kind of abstract question. The abstract question is they're also trying to do these 15-minute cities, right? So is this like far beyond that, where people are going to love living in this better than a 15-minute city where there's no cars?
This is the hope, is to eventually start the development to maybe get there. It's really just laying the foundation for.
That is the ultimate goal?
No, that's not the ultimate goal. That's not the ultimate goal. I think the goal, it really is to just provide those, in the interim, is just to provide those facilities for those that, more importantly, for those that need to use it, that don't have a car, the underserved communities, the senior population, to be able to walk and bike and access transit to wherever they need to go.
Yeah, big part of that's a driverless car.
Driverless car, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
In this community, just from my experience of living here, I don't see a lot of biking, but I see a heavy need for connectivity of walking. And you'll see in the mornings, mothers and children and carts and kids going everywhere, and in some areas are dangerous to cross. So I'm wondering, on the feedback you got, would you say, how much was your response to that? In others, did you implement suggestions, improvements focusing on the walkability, or was it mostly bikeability?
On both. So if a complete streets plan is looking at everything holistically.
Looking at both, but Can you focus on one more than the other as far as?
You can. So when we get to intersections and missing sidewalk gaps, definitely that's the focus for the pedestrian right-of-way. If there's any available space to fit a sidewalk, how wide can we make the sidewalk? You know, if we're getting closer to a town center or we're getting closer to a school, we would prefer the sidewalks be wider, because you're just going to have more families, more kids using those facilities. So we tried to recommend those wherever we could. We also looked at enhancing pedestrian crossings, signals, that sort of thing, just for pedestrians to be able to get across. Because you know, you can have 2 to 3, 4 block gaps where no one can cross the street. So we did look at that and say, okay, well, in this intersection, this might be a best place to do a pedestrian hybrid beacon or pedestrian signal to get across. The bike facilities are really just a reconfiguring of the lanes, but the pedestrian was really where we had to, you know, figure out how it would really work, because it requires, in some essences, requires more infrastructure and more thought on really how to navigate, because you also have to think of wheelchairs, you got to think mobility aids, you have to think pedestrians, you have to think of kids, because you know, kids will. I have a son, when he's 18 now, but he probably still does this, just kind of bolt across the street, you know, whatever they need to do. So it's all really thinking about holistically how if you take the mindset of a child, if I'm at this intersection, how am I going to act? If there's a signal there and able to cross in a crosswalk, I'll do it. If nothing's there, they're just going to bolt. So we have to take those things into consideration as we design these streets.
Yes.
Yeah, Joe.
I have a question. From your presentation, if I understand it correctly, the Han Road and the Newport Road, those two roads have the highest number of bike traffic and pedestrian traffic. However, right now on Newport Road, there are so many portions still without sidewalk. I myself, my family, would like to walk on Newport, go to shopping, going for coffee, but we can't because of the lack of the sidewalk and lack of the bike lane. So you are focusing on it is tremendous for our city, especially nearby elementary school, high schools. I see parents parking everywhere, so you're focusing on the parking around the school. That I remember during school hours time, we see students walking on Newport Road, going back and forth. So we really need your help to make it street safer. Thank you.
Well, one thing, if I may, that kind of moved us during the community engagement process was how passionate the parents were at Heritage and Paloma. I think we actually had one or two parents actually cry, like shed tears, that we were actually talking to them about it was at Paloma Valley, that we were actually talking to them about improving streets. We even had a parent who brought her son who became disabled because he fell into, I can't recall if he was hit by a car or off of Getz Road in the Quail Valley area. And, you know, she came in, and his sister and the mom came in very passionate about making improvements throughout the city. So that may have driven a lot of the recommendations going to Paloma Valley High School, just because of the sheer amount of folks we had there and what we were hearing through that process. So definitely don't take your residents for granted when they have a passion for improving the amenities towards their schools and really just getting around the city. It was great to see.
Just to give you a little data point, I mean, this is a done deal, but a friend of mine was just hit by a car on his bike last week, put in intensive care. He's out now. And then another friend, a friend of a friend on Dominican, he was killed riding his bike because a car hit him. So it'll be interesting to see the future of bike safety. And again, I don't see a whole lot of biking going on around here, but the ones that do would be nice if they don't get killed or hit.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see future technology or something that would better that. So.
Yeah, with the advent of electric bikes, it's making it easier for
it's making bikes just buzzing around.
It's making it easier for people to get around, and you might be seeing more and more of that. So the city has been really proactive in with the active transportation plan 4 years ago and this plan and the pursuit for grants that, you know, you're getting ahead of of all the housing and everything that's being built here in order to get those on the ground, because there's a lot of cities right now, they're fighting just to reclaim the space that they currently have in order to add bike lanes, where you guys have the opportunity to build it before you have the problem as other cities have, built out cities have.
One more comment. Another problem we might encounter really soon is on the east side of Menifee, there will be a lot of residential projects coming up within the next few years. So we should be able to anticipate much more traffic coming really soon. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Joe, Morgan, Jenny, thank you very much for the presentation. Appreciate it. Good luck with the presentation to the city,
All right,
to the
thank
council.
you. Thank you for your time.
Okay, moving on to approval of our agenda. Are there any modifications to tonight's agenda?
There are none.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll need the commission's approval for tonight's agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Item 6, public comments. Are there any requests to speak on items that are not on the agenda tonight?
There are none.
Okay, good. All right, so we'll need approval of the minutes. Can I ask the Planning Commission for approval of the May 22nd, 2024 minutes? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving on. Nothing on the consent calendar. Moving on to our big item for tonight, the Homes to Suites Hotel. Could the Deputy Community Development Director please introduce this item?
Thank you, Chair. The item will be presented by Senior Planner Russell. He'll be handling the presentation. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, Chair Ledoux and Commissioners and members of the public. The item before you tonight is the Home to Suites Plot Plan and CUP. The project is located east of Interstate 215, south of Newport Road, in the southern corner of the Menifee Town Center Shopping Center. The general plan land use and zoning designation of the site is Menifee Village Specific Plan, or SP 158. The project, or more specifically, the project falls within Planning Area 2-7, and the SP refers back to Ordinance 348 of the County of Riverside for some development regulations and the allowable uses. So a little bit of background. The Menifee Town Center Shopping Center was approved by the County of Riverside in the late 80s and early 90s under Plot Plan 12092. The site consists of 13 parcels over 27 acres, and the project site is located on the southern 2 acres. So a plot plan is required for the new development of a 4-story, 65,000 square foot hotel and related improvements. And a CUP is required as the project proposes to exceed the allowable height of 35 feet. And more info to come in future slides here. So the project includes 2 driveways, an existing driveway along the northern property line, which allows for full turning movements, and a proposed driveway near the southern boundary, which is restricted to right-in, right-out movements. The project requires 106 parking spaces, 1 parking space per each hotel room. The project contains 60 on-site parking spaces and 46 reciprocal spaces with the shopping center to the north. A parking demand study was completed with the shopping center to the north, and the results indicated that more than sufficient parking exists. The project site contains approximately 17,500 square foot of irrigated landscaped area, or approximately 20% of the project site. All parking areas will contain landscape screening in the form of trees and hedges. The project has been conditioned so that the existing palm trees along Antelope Road will remain in place, and a large Caltrans retention basin serves as an additional buffer from the Interstate 215 along the western boundary. So again, the site, the project consists of a 4-story, 65,000 square foot hotel. The first floor contains 16 guest rooms, a meeting room of approximately 1,200 square feet, an outdoor pool, patio, lounge area of approximately 2,500 square feet, and a pool that is approximately 550 square feet in area. Oops. And rooms, or I should say floors 2 through 4 contain 30 rooms per floor. As previously mentioned, the project contains a CUP. The maximum height allowed per the SP is 35 feet. However, with the approval of a CUP per section 18.34 of Ordinance 348, the maximum height may be increased up to 75 feet. The project proposes a maximum height of 54 feet 3 inches to the tallest appurtenance. However, the majority of the building is actually at about 46 feet. Which allows for that 4th floor. So the project was reviewed for compliance with the specific plan as well as the citywide design guidelines. The project, or the proposed building, is the latest franchise design model of Hilton Home to Suites and consists of modern architectural elements, including vertical metal siding, El Dorado simulated stone cladding, and a smooth exterior finish. The roof lines are broken up to reduce the overall mass of the building, and the 4-sided roof elements provide additional depth and relief. So a negative declaration, or an ND, was prepared for the project. The 20-day public review period for the ND, that should say, not MND, but for the negative declaration occurred from May 15th to June 3rd. The city did receive comments from CARE California, and those have been placed in your blue folders for consideration. And staff, as well as our CEQA consultant from RIC Engineering, have prepared written responses, which were also placed in your blue folders. And staff and our consultant determined that no additional environmental analysis is required, as the ND addresses the concerns that were raised in the comment letter. And we also did receive 1 email in opposition of the project and 1 email in support of the project earlier today. And staff's recommendation is to adopt a Planning Commission resolution adopting the negative declaration and adopt a PC resolution approving the plot plan and CUP subject to the conditions of approval and the findings. And that completes staff's presentation. Again, our CEQA consultant with RIC Engineering is here, as well as an air quality specialist, and then the project applicant and their representative is available as well. So, thank you.
Thank you, Russell. It's a good presentation. It's a beautiful building. We did get the letter from the attorney and the responses in our blue folders. Staff seems to be pretty confident that anything brought up or addressed in the attorney letter was covered by the reports, and we have no concerns about any of that stuff.
That is correct. Yeah, we received the comments last Monday, June 3rd. So we spent all last week going through the comment letter, comment by comment. We prepared adequate responses, and we feel nothing, no additional analysis is required, no EIR is required. Everything was adequately addressed. So.
I have a question about that. What stake does CARE have in our city? Do they have an office here? Why are they getting involved?
That I'm not sure. I'm not sure if anyone here is from CARE or not. I'm not sure. We've seen their name popping up on a couple other projects as well throughout the city. So, not entirely sure. I'd defer to maybe the audience if anyone else.
My apologies. Planning Commissioner, we can leave that to the public comments, and if there's anyone from CARE, they can address that. Thank you.
We'll give you an opportunity at the right time. Thanks. Joe, yeah, this is questions for staff.
Yes. As I understand, the project is abutting to Highway 215. Is there a sound wall between the project and the highway?
No sound wall was proposed, nor was it indicated that it was needed in the noise study. You know, so again, there's that large buffer, Caltrans buffer, but no additional sound wall was warranted based on the noise
What's
study.
the composition of the buffer zone right now?
Can you repeat that?
You said between the project and the highway, there's a Caltrans buffer zone. What do we
Yeah.
have there?
So it's
to
again, it's
mitigate the noise.
similar to the project site. It's kind of an irregular triangular shaped basin. I think from my measurements, I think the building was at least 150 feet from the lanes of travel. So I mean, it varies in depth, but you know,
If-
So the
Commissioner,
noise,
if I can add, there's an existing detention basin that it's owned by Caltrans. The detention basin is approximately 110 feet wide, and then you have the additional distance from the parking lot to the building. So as Russell indicated, from the first travel lane to the face of the building, we're probably looking at 160 feet or so.
personally, I used to rent a motel located next to a highway, and we cannot open the window. Every time when you open the window.
My
you hear-
apologies, Commissioner Long. This is just for questions for staff. I just wanted to make sure we stay in that before we have, so that we can have the public hearing for you to make comments. Thank you.
Yeah, I was concerned about the traffic noise, especially during at nights, because the guest is going to be staying overnight, so the noise is going to be even more. And also, when you have a tall building, you're going to hear echo, noise echo, and it's an L-shaped structure. So the noise is going to be echo back and forth. So the noise could be enhanced.
Excuse me, Joe. Do you have a question for staff? This is, I kind of hear what you're saying. I think this is something that we can discuss amongst ourselves when the time is right.
Right.
But do you have any specific questions for staff regarding your concerns at this time?
Yes. I would like to know if we have any measure to mitigate the noise level.
So I know you again, we have our CEQA consultant from Rick Engineering's here as well. But I know briefly you mentioned the windows. So I know that from what I recall with a conversation with the project applicant, the windows are fixed, so those can't be opened. And I think that's fairly common, fairly standard. But again, regarding I guess, well, and then as it relates to CEQA purposes, you know, they're looking at the analysis that the project has on the environment, not the other way around, you know? So I don't know, Greg, with Rick Engineering, if you can expand on that, or if now's the time, or is that?
No, not yet.
We open
We'll
the
get
public
to.
hearing. So
We'll
we'll get to that. We
we'll
can
open the
elaborate
public
on that
hearing
further.
and get into it, yeah.
Sure.
Just another question for later reply.
Sure.
The swimming pool is outdoor, so I would like to know the noise level for people using the swimming pool. Thank you.
All right, Randy, go ahead.
Hey, Russell, good job. You increased the height by approximately 19 feet, and you did that through the CUP, so it had to meet further requirements before you could approve the additional 19 feet?
Yeah, so again, the height allowed per the specific plan is 35 feet.
Right.
The height to the top of the majority of the building's 46 feet for an
Yeah.
approximate 11 feet. And then obviously there's the additional maybe elevator tower or architectural features. Correct, though, it does require a CUP to go above that. And then there are additional findings for a CUP that were made.
Okay, and then another question. So since it's higher, is there a lighted sign up there that's going to maybe reflect on the community, immediate community, adjacent community?
So there are I guess as the project has been designed, what's before you tonight does not include the signage. So the applicant will have to come back in with
Okay.
another sign permit application with the planning department, and we'll analyze it at that time.
Okay. Good one. And then the other last thing is usually we have the traffic problem from the outside. This one's in the inside. So now we're going to be directing traffic to the overflow to the parking lot. Is that entire parking lot, reciprocal parking easement, open for any parking? Well, of course, it's open for any parking, but is there a restricted area for the hotel only?
There is not. So there's an existing operating and lease agreement in place for the entire 27-acre shopping center, which
Right.
allows for reciprocal access and parking for the entire shopping center. So there's nothing's designated as hotel-only parking. There is that blanket agreement over the entire center.
Okay. My last question. So did the height, the approved height, is that how you determined how many, well, the number of rooms too? Is that how they determined 4 floors?
Yeah, I'd probably defer that to the applicant if they want to elaborate on their design when that time comes, but correct. If it was, 3-level hotel, you could maybe meet the 35 feet, I guess it would be an assumption. But again, it's an additional 30 rooms for that 4th floor. And again, that is fairly consistent with what we've seen at other hotels that we've approved in the city, the Fairfield and the Hampton Inn.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
One more question. As you indicated, there is an agreement between the shopping center and the hotel for hotel guests to use parking in the shopping center. Is there a dedicated way for hotel guests to go to the shopping center safely? Because I understand this living space is a huge building, and it's not easy for hotel guests to go to the front of the living space, the huge parking lot. It's not easy for guests because they have to walk by a back way.
Yeah, so again, this is a kind of a separate, even though it is technically part of the shopping center, you could say, it is a separate 2-acre parcel that is behind the living spaces with its own access. And 2 driveways, I should say. So technically, you don't have to access the shopping center, the living spaces. It has its own separate access. Again, the project was constructed and approved in the early 90s. The project as proposed today will be ADA compliant and have the connectability, walkability. So that was reviewed and considered, although they're not proposing changes to the existing shopping center, just that 2-acre portion to the south. So,
Commissioner, if I can add a couple more comments, if I can ask IT to pull up the PowerPoint as well. It's not up on the screen. Oh, it's okay. And if we can go to the site plan, Russell.
Sure.
The site plan will show that there's existing parking behind living spaces. And again, it's probably in the number about 30 spaces or so, right? So
about 65.
65 spaces on the rear. Okay, so if there's a need for additional parking spaces, obviously the ones that are more easily accessible are the ones that are immediately next to the existing parking from the hotel. So unless those parkings are full, then there's technically no need to go around living spaces and park in front of the building.
Joe, when it comes back to us, bring that back up again, and we can talk about, because I have an idea of what you're saying, and I have an answer for you, but we'll get to that part when we get to our discussion. So if you remember, bring that back up.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions for staff? Okay, let's go ahead and open the public hearing. It is 6:48. Madam Clerk, was the hearing legally noticed, and was any correspondence received?
Yes, it was legally noticed, and the correspondence is in your folders.
We've received that. Thank you. All right, I understand the applicant is here. No? Yes? Okay, would you please come up to the podium and introduce yourself for us, and if you have anything you want us to know, now's the time.
Commissioners, Chair Ledoux, my name is Joe Halasik. I represent Apollo Developer, and my architecture firm, which is Noah Group Architects, 4990 North Harbor Drive, San Diego, California. I am able to answer and more than happy to answer all of your questions, but typically the presentation by staff, by Russell, was extremely good. So he covered a lot of things, but numerous of you have asked several questions, so I do make myself fully available for questions. I have, I believe, answers for each of the questions that so far have been asked.
I'll ask the first question really quick. Are there COAs on this? Okay. Do you agree to all of the conditions of approval tonight?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Questions for the applicant?
Yes, please, yes. Without the sound wall between the project and the highway, I am concerned about the traffic noise from the highways affecting guests.
Yes, it's an excellent question, but the fact of the situation is that we've both had a sound study done, and I've been to the site many times during heavy traffic times and fast traffic times, and it's remarkably quiet. And again, the reasoning is that the reason for this is that there is a large Caltrans retention basin between the highway and the parking lot, and again, there is the entire width of the parking lot before you even get to the hotel. And then part and parcel to your question, you asked about the windows, which are fixed by Hilton standards, and the exterior wall construction, which has a relatively high STC, or sound transfer coefficient. So it will be pin drop quiet in the rooms.
Excellent, excellent, yes. Are you contemplating planting more vegetation along so that we would mitigate the noise level?
Well, we really don't feel that it's necessary, but I will say that Orlando and Cheryl and Russell and we have worked very hard on this hotel. We've been through probably, I don't know, 8 or 10 or even more iterations of various parking configurations and landscape augmentation designs and so forth. And we have quite a bit of screening along the freeway facing wall, the wall that is adjacent to Caltrans. We also have a site wall that is short, but it's primarily meant to prevent headlights from shining onto the freeways and so forth. And, you know, Commissioner, you asked another question about access to the shopping center. There's a very wide sidewalk that goes straight up into the Living Spaces shopping center. And as Russell pointed out, both of the driveway entrances are completely independent from the shopping center. I believe another question that you asked, another good question, is about the parking. The parking center had a parking study performed, and it's only parked at, I think it was under 30% capacity at peak hours. And there are about, I don't know, probably 75 or 80 spaces behind Living Spaces. I've been to the site probably 10 times, and I've never seen a car parked there other than ours. So there simply won't be a situation where there's a parking crunch on the rear end of this shopping center. I do think it'll be beneficial for the shopping center as a whole. It's an extended stay hotel. There will be people walking up into that and using their shops and restaurants every single day. I'm confident of that.
For the parking spaces, you have 60 on-site spaces.
Yes.
I tried to count, but I couldn't count 60. And then you have 46 reciprocal spaces.
Yes, sir.
I couldn't count. Can you count the 60 and the 46?
Yeah, the shape of the site is irregular. It's sort of a pie-shaped triangle, but there's an appurtenance off the end of it at the south or at the north end of the Caltrans basin, and it's got a number of spaces in it as well. And the reciprocal parking spaces are in many ways more ideal for the use of the hotel because they're physically closer to the entry to the structure. So you're not walking across, a major road. You're walking across basically an unused driveway to go to the entry of the hotel. So my feeling is that they're ideally located. If we owned a larger parcel, that is exactly where we would have put the parking in the first place. And as a matter of fact, Russell and Orlando and various people at the city were extremely scrutinous of this. And we worked out, to our understanding and to our belief, the best parking and hotel site orientation and design that we could. We also worked very, very hard on four-sided design so that it's a good-looking building. It's not a typical roadside hotel.
Excellent, excellent. I also noticed that you have a number of outdoor features.
Yes.
You have a barbecue grill,
Yes.
dining area, and swimming pool.
Yes?
I hope all of those areas, the traffic noise is not going to be a deterrent.
It really is not. I can attest that I've been to the site so many times with my clients who are here, and I think the ownership of the overall shopping center is here too. But I can tell you that you can have a conversation as easily as you and I are right now, minus the microphone. You don't need it. It's simply not a noisy site, and that's one of the first things that I look at when clients bring to me potential sites. I will say, this is a noisy site. It has terrible access. It has this, it has that. It has utility infrastructure issues, whatever, right? We do our due diligence very thoughtfully and carefully. And this is an excellent, excellent site for this use. And I will say, I know there is some opposition here, but I will say that just for the record, that the site is presently fully developed. It's got both parking and installed landscaping that was done as part of the original shopping center. So there is no real estate that is native that we're disturbing for the first time.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, Randy.
Yes, sir.
Hi.
Hi.
Was due to this irregular 2-acre parcel, regular shape and all, did that determine the size of the hotel to be a little less than the ones you build when you have a larger parcel?
No, not necessarily.
So the rooms are all the same?
Oh, no, they're
sizes?
100% per Hilton standards. And we also worked with Russell and Cheryl and various people to add some conference facilities on the first floor. And the outdoor amenities, the pool is Hilton standard, and the barbecue area is Hilton standard, and the outdoor gazebos at the entry adjacent to the portico share are Hilton standard. So, I mean, this is a Hilton hotel. This is, it's not a cheap roadside hotel by any means.
So does that mean there won't be any 18-wheelers there?
Well, I guess it can't mean that there won't be, but it's certainly not a truck stop hotel.
Well, I mean, there's room for them to park.
I guess maybe if 18-wheelers go to Hilton hotels.
Well,
They normally have a cab in the back, I think.
I'll tell you, when I first saw this, I thought we were putting 4 pounds of potatoes in a 1-pound bag. And then I got into it deeper, and I saw, well, 96 rooms. Makes sense. 4 floors. I was gonna ask you, cut it maybe to 3.
No, it's not viable. It would be economically unviable to do a smaller hotel. Usually the minimum threshold is around 100 rooms.
Yeah.
And I don't think it would be beneficial in any way, but it would definitely make the project not viable.
I have faith in you, because I know if you don't do it right, you're gonna lose customers.
Yeah, this is
So
a
that's-
multi-million-dollar enterprise. We're certainly not doing it on a on a whim or a hope.
Okay.
My clients are very thorough.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Someone brought up the signage. Is any of the signage going to be reflecting towards the apartments across the street, or is it all freeway?
It's
I know we're not approving signs. but
Yes.
just basically, what do you plan?
There is no signage facing across the street. There is a Hilton standard, which is this green beacon. It's a thing that is a recognizable element, and there's one of them, and it faces the freeway. And then there's a wall sign sort of facing the living spaces part and freeway signage. There's really no advent to us having a sign facing the residential across the street. And this is a remainder parcel, and it was a challenging parcel, but it's fantastically located for this use, right? Menifee has come to the level where it can support this venture.
All right, thank you, Joe. I have some kind of softball questions for you, I think, because
Yes, Chair Ledoux.
I'm just curious about where people are coming from to stay overnight in Menifee in something like this, and where are they going when they wake up in the morning from staying in a place like this?
Probably a lot of people are visiting other family members who live here. They may be in long transit. I don't know. It's a question that is asked a lot, and it's a good question. But obviously, when you drive up and down the interstate freeway system in the States, there's tens of thousands of freeway-oriented hotels. Sometimes you've just got cranky kids in the back, and you're like, I want to get dinner and get a room and get out of this car. I don't know specifically. There was a marketing report done, and it shows a strong need for a hotel of this size and caliber in Menifee. I think that's a good thing for Menifee.
I tend to agree. I was just curious if, you said you don't do anything on a whim, if there was some kind of questionnaire or study done where you
Very much, yes.
know where your customers are coming
Yes.
from and
Pratik
what they're
Chintu,
doing.
would you care to talk about the report you had done? I may be out of order. I don't know if I can call someone
No,
up.
this is fine. This is your time.
Hi, my name is Pratik. I'm one of the owners of this site and developers. So, referring to your question, so we had a study done by HVS. They're one of the main companies that do hotel market studies. And generally for extended stay hotels, they attract certain types of customers. You have your lower end extended stay properties, more economical. And then you have your higher end ones, which is the one we're building for Home 2 Suites. These are going to attract families that want a more comfortable, bigger size room with the amenities such as a pool, the gym, the barbecue area, that are going to stay for a long period of time, whether they're on vacation or they're in between apartments or homes. It's also going to attract corporate business. So Hilton is very well known for their corporate business, and most of the time when they travel, people prefer the larger rooms and just that atmosphere of Hilton. Construction workers, surprisingly, will also stay a long period of time because of the kitchenettes. They don't want to go out and spend food, and they do have other options such as an economy extended stay or a Hilton brand, but a lot of time because of the points, that's one of the main attractions. So you get mostly people that have an average length of stay of about 7 days in this type of building. And that could be groups that are coming, like church groups, or someone that's coming to a convention or different companies. It generally focuses on the more business-orientated traveler or the family.
Okay, thank you. I was kind of hoping you were going to say, we found that most people are coming to the hotel because they want to go visit the wineries, and everything in Temecula and Marietta is kind of full, so now they need a place to stay. Now they're looking at Menifee because we're kind of looking towards calling ourselves the gateway to the winery, potentially. And so I was hoping that was going to be something that you were going to say about who's visiting and where they're going, but it doesn't sound like that's part of the study that was done. It's not a big deal. I was just curious.
Well, one part of the study is the overflow, which is I think we all know about the overflow from Temecula and Marietta, and that part was part of the study that we would be getting that business too.
That's what I was looking for.
But the hope here is that as Menifee grows too, there'll be more business coming along. And there's a school down the street. The stadium was expanded. That was another source of business.
That's what I'm looking for. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
No other questions for the applicant? Okay.
Actually, I did bring up the point of why Adams Broadwell was getting involved, and is this the time they can speak? Is this not public comment?
Not yet.
Okay.
We're getting close.
Okay.
We're nearing that. We have any other questions for the applicant? Okay. At this point, Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak on this item?
Yes, we have 10 requests to speak. First, we have Zach Strosters, followed by David Martinez.
Thank you all.
Come on up, Zach.
Thank you.
All right. Good evening. Zach Strassers with CARE California. So, want to point out a couple things, and a lot of it is really actually follow up to the points that you've made this evening as the commission. So, first, let me say that CARE California is opposed to this project. I'm going to give you a couple reasons why. I'm going to start firstly with some of the unevaluated or underevaluated health risk impacts on the hotel guest. So the project proposes an extended stay hotel, as the developer had mentioned, directly adjacent to the 215. So the initial study fails to analyze the short-term or long-term health risk impact on hotel guests and hotel workers from exposure to air pollutants from the freeway. Obviously, as Commissioner Long pointed out, this is something that, again, the developer themselves talking about the level of panache and, you know, the level of quality, this is not something that we want to underestimate, undervalue, or understudy. Because this is an extended stay hotel, although, and this is why you have to listen very closely to the developers, although the average stay may or may not be 7 days, guests can stay for weeks or months or more. So even up to years, depending on the hotel's policies. And again, because of the quality of the hotel and because of the lack of hotels of this quality, this is very ostensibly possible. So some people use extended stay hotels as their primary residences indefinitely. These guests would thus be exposed to the pollutant for an extended period of time. City policies recommend against putting residences within 500 feet of the 215, and the project does exactly that. The project additionally may result in significant health risk impact on hotel guests and workers from exposure to those air pollutants, and thusly potentially significant impact must be studied in an EIR. Likewise, because the developer is aware of overflow from Temecula and from Murrieta, what they're banking on is that this will be moved quick enough that we won't pay attention to that. However, we are hoping as CARE California, as advocates for the community and many members that are stakeholders, that this is not something we will move past immediately. There are several other points that I'd like to mention as well. One that may not be talked about, but I hope that it spurs questions behind the dais, is public utilities. So the negative declaration fails to analyze whether the project would require new water infrastructure to provide adequate water to nearby fire hydrants to fight fires. We are talking about a high number of guests. We're talking about increasing the level of traffic and the residency there. So without this information, the city has literally no evidence as to whether or not the project safety requirements will be met, and there may be significant public safety impacts. If the water infrastructure needs to be upgraded, it would involve additional construction, which would have noise.
Your 3 minutes is up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate your time. I understand you're reiterating more comments that you were in the letter that was sent to us. So we're aware of that, and we'll talk to staff about that at the appropriate time. Thank you.
David Martinez, followed by Austin Alvarez.
Hello, good evening, Honorable Commissioner Chair and Planning Commissioner. My name is Dan Martinez, and I'll be speaking in opposition to the Home 2 Suite project this evening. As a project such as this hotel could be a huge asset to our community, however, this depends on the owner reaching out and engaging all members of the community. It makes no mistake that Menifee values this project. However, from the design and development community to the men and women building it, to the law office and family clinics and schools nearby, Menifee wants their voices heard. So unless each voice in this room today is taken into account, sat down, and negotiated with, we should not support this project, even with regards to architectural design and land use. Please deny this project so that the developer understands how serious we are about this community involvement, so that they have a stronger incentive to hear the community prior to the city council and hearing. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, David.
Austin Alvarez, followed by Ryan Kassler.
Good evening, Venerable Menifee, Planning Commission, and City staff. My name is Austin Alvarez, and I'm here to speak against the project on Highway 215 and Newport Road. The Apollo 5 Development Group has a golden opportunity here to engage the people of Menifee in an honest, upright manner. While this project, like any project, can legally be built without consulting with the public in any substantive way, the people of Menifee are asking for more. Some have gathered here tonight in the hopes that the Planning Commission, even before this project makes its way to the City Council, will see this as a land use issue. The community desires to give their input on the development, construction, use, and ongoing operation of the land, and the lack of exhaustive community engagement needs resolution. The resolution we are seeking is simple. Any party here that is expressing any grievance on any level should be sat down with prior to approval. Therefore, deny this project on the basis of lack of community engagement. Let it come back to City Council with city staff reporting that the meetings held in the interim between hearings were fruitful, thereby satisfying both developer and community. Please deny this project. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Austin.
Ryan Kassler, followed by Aiden Marshall.
I'm Ryan Kassler. I live at 33667 Cherry Street, Willamar, California. I'm here on behalf of thousands of hardworking men and women of the Iron Workers Local 433. We're here today to oppose this project and ask you to oppose it well. We had hoped that this developer would choose to hire responsible contractors who will hire locally, provide living wages, ensure benefits for the workforce, and provide a chance for apprentices to learn the trade on a real job site. Unfortunately, they have not done so. This overall is a failure to our community, and we deserve better. Support the local workforce, support us, but do not support this project. Do not vote yes tonight on this project. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Aiden Marshall, followed by Joanna Eldridge.
Good evening. Could I have an extension of time to answer the commission's questions, in addition to providing my own comments?
Let's go with the 3 for now, and we'll see what we get to. We'll see what we get.
All right. Good evening, Honorable Planning Commissioners. My name is Aiden Marshall, speaking on behalf of CARE California. You requested some more information about our organization. Our goal is to basically, we're an unincorporated association of individuals and labor organizations that may be adversely affected by this project. These are folks who are working on this project potentially, living in the area. We have numerous Menifee residents who would be potentially affected by this project should it be built. These include Fairman Espejo, Maurice Garrett, William McGuire, and others. These folks raise their families here. They work here. They're absolutely part of the community, and they're stakeholders in this project. I'd like to address a new staff report or report from the technical consultants of the developer that was supposedly circulated to the commission prior to this hearing. This was not made available to the public in any way whatsoever. There was no information that a new report was released. There was no information what this report contains. This report supposedly rebuts everything that we've included in our comments, but we are supposed to take this at face value because it has not been provided to us. In addition to being unfair, frankly, it's a violation of the Brown Act. Government Code Section 54957.5, subdivision B1 and 2 provides that if governing body members receive materials less than 72 hours before a regular meeting, then the materials must be made available for public inspection at the same time they're distributed to the governing body. I've not seen any of these materials distributed to the public here. This completely negates our ability to comment on this project meaningfully, and we request that this project not be approved at this time. This hearing must be continued to a future date. I'd like to turn to the substantive issues which I intended to focus my comments on at this time. I'd like to start with the legal standard here, which is very important in how you interpret the supposed applicant response to comments, which we have not seen, by the way. CEQA provides that the city must prepare an EIR whenever substantial evidence supports a fair argument that a project may have a significant effect on the environment. It's only when there's not even a fair argument of a significant impact, that a negative declaration, which is the document used here, can be prepared. We've submitted substantial evidence in our written comments presenting this fair argument. There's a significant health risk, noise, public utilities, and aesthetics impact here. For example, this project would result in a 43.7 in 1 million cancer risk at the folks just across Antelope Road. That's 4 times the 10 in 1 million significance threshold set by the Air District. That on its face is a significant impact requiring mitigation, which this project has 0 of because it's a negative declaration. This project cannot be approved unless an EIR is prepared. Thank you.
Thanks, Aiden.
Joanna Eldridge, followed by Andrew Garcia.
Good evening, Commission, City staff. In this room, I live at 28077 Stillwater Drive. I bought my home here in Menifee 4 years ago, and what I don't share with the rest of the room is I own a corner home. When Living Spaces went through their upgrade and the shopping center was redone, no one considered the HOA wall. Instead, I have 12 letters that spell out Living Spaces that blink, and when it rains, it's like an on and off sign, and it's right directly into my bedroom windows. So not only has the lights come into my home, but my wall, I have 72 feet of common shared wall along Antelope and Stillwater. Even though they visited the area over here in this shopping center, there are trucks that deliver between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. The rest of the day, the traffic starts between 5 a.m. and goes up till sometimes 8 p.m. And that's traffic coming from not yet finished the bridge, so Scott Road along Antelope Road. And then also on the weekends, it's a race car, it's just open, 80 miles an hour, no bumps, nothing to slow them down between coming from Piedra and onto Stillwater and to the light of Newport. That light is also ran many times over. I have video of it, even when they expanded the 3-lane to Newport. Still, nobody uses that center lane there in the middle to turn left or into Newport Road. It's completely backed up all the way to Stillwater on my side and Menifee Town Center. Not only that, the HOA wall that I share is maybe 12 feet high. And with any of this proposal of this hotel, anything over 28 feet, and any rooms facing that home or the southeast, any of those rooms need to be studied because they will have direct eyesight into my backyard. They will see my full sliding glass doors, my bedroom windows, and my patio. They would have to consider the HOA wall. Also in this plan, there's not only myself, but 17 other residents that share this stretch of highway. It goes apartments, my backyard, and then 16 other residents along Antelope. It's noisy, there is parking, and there's usually trucks that can't deliver, so they may come in at midnight. They sit and they sleep until 3 p.m. in that back lot behind Living Spaces. And then when they are done delivering, and also Living Spaces or any other truck that's delivering to those stores, their empty trailers make a bouncing, huge boom sound. And I only know this because now I'll be a 5-year resident come September. So I hope you consider the noise, and if there are reports, I would like those available to the public as well. Your noise study, your traffic study. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanna.
Andrew Garcia, followed by Lori Garcia.
Good evening, Planning Commission. My name is Andrew Garcia. I'm here as a representative of UA Local 364 and a delegate of the Inland Empire Labor Council. And we are in opposition of the Home to Suites hotel project and are seeking your vote against the project. The applicant has failed to understand that a project such as this one will impact our community significantly. It should be done right, and to do it right, they should be hiring responsible contractors and hiring locally for all crafts. Our local skilled workforce should be part of building this project. So I worked on the MSJC Stadium for about 10 months as a union pipe fitter, and I live here in Menifee now. That's why I live here in Menifee. I also moved here because I did a VA home loan seminar at Buffalo Wild Wings here on Hahn Road. And I also was a drill sergeant in the Army reserves here stationed at March Air Reserve Base, and we did a military ball. Every year we do a military ball, and we decided to do it here at Fairfield. So that night, the vacancy, there was no vacancy, so they ended up going to Temecula, downtown Riverside. So to answer your question on why people would come here is because of that. But to be able to approve this project, we need to make sure we do it right with the signatory contractors and make sure the developer does this the right way. We ask that you stand with us against this project and vote no tonight. Thank you.
Next, I have Lori Garcia.
Hi, good evening, staff and as well as Planning Commission. My name is Lori Garcia, not related to the person right before me. Just want to make that clear. I am also a resident of Menifee. I've been living here since 2011. I live in the Lakes. And I have been living out here in this area since 1995. I have seen just about everything Menifee has built in my time here since 95. I am in favor of the project, and you wanted to know who's staying in hotels and why are they coming and so on. I think I've got some answers for you from personal experience as well as being a licensed real estate agent out here since 2006. So we can start with personal. In 2019, I had a family reunion, and like I said, I live in the Lakes, and we were not able to offer any of our guests flying in from all over the country any local hotel accommodations. And unfortunately, they all had to go into Temecula and other areas. So I am personally thrilled to have Fairfield, but I'm also thrilled to have a hotel on this side of, or my side of the freeway. As far as another personal note, I'm a football mom. My son played college football. He grew up here. He got a scholarship and went to Illinois. And I'm one of those football moms that traveled and followed my son everywhere. And when it came to looking for hotel accommodations for my quick overnight 1 or 2 days, what was I doing? I was hitting up Expedia, and I was looking for the closest hotel to the stadium or the hotel or the airport, because it got me in and got me out and got me home. And so with the new stadium that we have right across here on Antelope, this is a perfect opportunity for all of those traveling moms, dads, grandparents, girlfriends, everybody else is coming to watch their football team. And not only that, it's not just a football stadium, it's an event arena. It's a place that we're going to be able to host a lot of really great activities for our community. And so there is going to be a great need for places for people to stay. And then the last thing is being a real estate agent and having gone through this crazy up and down real estate market over the last few years, I have had so many phone calls, emails, messages, people reaching out that are house hunters, that are business hunters, that are people that are looking in this area because we are Boomtown Menifee, right? And they're looking for a place to stay, not just for 1 or 2 nights, because they're house hunting, they're looking to relocate their business, they need places to stay. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a wonderful project, and I'm all for it. Go for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
Next, I have, and I apologize, I can't understand your name, but I believe it's Kiara Santi.
Hi, good evening, Commissioner, people attending the meeting. I'm a resident of Menifee. I'm also a business involved in Menifee, but I'm talking as a resident. My house was located in Odi Murphy community. I've been a resident since 2019. I have 2 teenager boys. I really have the same issue that the previous speaker has. Actually, my house got flooded in 2020, and I need a place to stay. I didn't want to stay in an hotel, but I really need to find an hotel to stay overnight. The only place was the Fairfield. And believe me, it was fully packed. It's the only hotel that we have in town. And every time that I have people that want to come here and visit, or some friends that want to come around, we need to send them to our neighbor town, to Temecula or Menifee, or sorry, Murrieta. So we're going to We're going to send our money and our taxes to the neighborhood city. I know it's also an overflow of people going to Temecula and for the wine country. They might not find a place to stay. But really, we only have one hotel. We only have a Fairfield. If you go there on the weekend, it's more than $300 a night for a weekend because it's always fully packed. And if you go during the weekend, things that are done because my house was flooded and I didn't have a place to stay until I found a renter. During the week, there are lots of people that work, either one for Caltrans, for other companies that they are traveling people and they need a place to stay. I don't think that this is going to be a chance for people for having an extended stay to live in an hotel. For me, it's more like a place to come here. Also, for sport, we have this new beautiful stadium that is going to be a venue for also for concert, not only for. Are we going to put these people that come into the city? We have more residents than Temecula right now, but as far as hospitality, I don't think we have much to offer. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our final speaker is Robert Lugan.
Good evening, Commissioners and Chairman. My name is Robert R. Lugan, who I've been with Local 416 Ironworkers for 42 years, and I served in the Marine Corps. And as you serve in the military, they train you to protect your brothers and sisters next to you and to pass that on. I've been an instructor at the school for 4 years, and I went through the apprenticeship program because I want to learn the best of my work as an iron worker. And it's just not tying rebar, but there's all kinds of aspects to it. And I share that with the apprentices. Learn every aspect of this job because that's what's going to get you through and you're going to keep busy. Now for this project that is brought forth in front of you is an opportunity to strengthen our middle class in Menifee. It is a chance to fight for working families and their children and to send a message to the constituents that you care about their needs and their economical mobility. And if they don't hire, they don't want to sit at the table with the ironworkers, the trained ironworkers, 433, the pipe fitters, 416, then there's going to be havoc. I've seen theaters, 30 theater, they had to tear it down because they did not do the right thing. I've seen buildings in San Bernardino, they had to condemn them because they didn't do the right job, because they didn't hire the right tradesmen to do what they've been trained to do. This developer have failed to make commitments to use responsible contractors that will hire from their local skilled workforce. And until they do, please, we ask that you vote no for this project. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Robert. You don't have any more scheduled speakers? Sorry.
No, I do not.
Is there anyone else that would like to say something about the project? Okay. So we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing then. It is 7:28, and we're going to bring this back to us for discussion.
I'd like to bring up one item on this. I wanted to address the concerns of the citizens who live right across the street. And that's why I asked the question, is there signage that's going to be adding to their light pollution, basically? And my understanding is that it's not going to. So am I wrong in that? Did you guys, are you on the same page with that? Or there's not going to be signage up above that's going to be shining down on it?
I got the impression the signage was facing the freeway.
Facing the freeway.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah? Simple, right? Okay. I want to address a couple things. I'll let my colleagues go first. Ty?
Thank you, Chair. Before we continue, I just wanted to address a comment made by one of the members of the public who indicated that there was potentially a violation of the Brown Act. I want to clarify that there is no violation of the Brown Act. Government Code Section 54957.5, Subdivision C states that writings that are public records described in Subdivision B and distributed during a public meeting, which is what you received in your blue folders, distributed during the public meeting, shall be made available for public inspection at the meeting if prepared by the local agency or member of its legislative body. Those documents are available in the back. There are hard copies. They will also be available online for review via PDF, as well as any other documents relating to the ND that others have requested. Thank you.
Thank you. That was going to be the first question for me was is any of this, like, does it have any standing? So, okay. I feel like some of the comments from the CARE group was just reiterating what was in the letter that they gave us, and I feel comfortable after talking with staff that they've addressed all of the concerns. So I'm not opposed to the project because of anything that was brought up in that letter.
I did have a question along it. They claimed that they did not receive the response back to them. Is that accurate, or?
Yes, Commissioner. So this is a negative declaration. It is not required that we provide response to comments, which is required under CEQA for EIRs. However, in this case, out of an abundance of caution and to address all potential concerns, staff did provide the document that was provided in your blue folders and in the back of the room.
But not to directly back to them. Is there a reason they didn't?
Because it was completed today.
Okay.
Thank you.
It just takes one send button on an email.
I have a question about the letter, the CARE letter. The main reason for the letter is the level of toxic air contaminants in excess of South Coast Air Quality Management District. I was trying to look for such a standard, but I couldn't find it. So it's too general. I could not rely on this number. And then the next sentence, the cancer risk for most sensitive population. What does it mean, sensitive population? Is it general population or is it senior population? So it's not clear. So I cannot rely on this number. And then the number of 43.7 per million, I was trying to look for that number. I couldn't find it. I was looking on EDA and I couldn't find those numbers. So for those reasons, I couldn't go on with those numbers. So that's for the letter. For the project, I'm still concerned about the traffic noise from the highway. I really encourage developer to develop vegetation along. I don't know whether the developer can work with Caltrans detention basin to have a row of vegetation to soften the noise, particularly the project having a number of outdoor features such as barbecue place, eating place, and swimming pool. So with the vegetation, with more vegetation, it's going to enhance the environment greatly. That's one concern.
Joe, I'm going to interrupt you real quick because I agree with you. I see where you're going with it. I'm not sure if you know this or not, but on this site, I don't know if it's once a week or once a month, there's like a farmer's market that they have back there. And there's lots of people that go and they set up their tents and they sell their wares and stuff. So people are walking around outside, having normal conversations, talking to each other. So obviously it's not, in my opinion, it's not too loud if they can do this every week. Is it every week? Do we know? It's like every week or so, I think. Once a month. Yeah. So it's a big farmer's market that takes over the whole parking lot, and they're out there, they're outside, they're walking around talking to each other, selling things, and obviously it wouldn't be a good spot for them if the freeway was too loud for them to conduct their business. So I don't know if you know that they have that or not, but I wanted to throw that out there.
Yes, for the flea market, it's periodic. It's probably on weekend, but for the hotel, it's permanent. And
Well, the
with
point is they're outside talking with one another. If you're concerned about the noise, you said the pool and the barbecue, you know, like I said, this is just a discussion between us. That's my thought, is if it's good enough for people to walk around and shop at a flea market, then they're probably going to be okay at a pool or a barbecue in the same area. That's just my opinion. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah. So with the tall wall, it's a 4-story building. So the wall is going to be a sound wall blocking the noise. So actually the noise is going to be higher at the pool because of the wall. So we should anticipate higher noise because of the wall of the building and because of the L shape. So the noise will be echoing the two walls. It's going to be echoing. So I anticipate, maybe I'm wrong, the noise would be higher than.
The L shape is pointing towards the freeway, which would bounce it back to the freeway, not
Yes,
towards the neighbors.
right. So it's going to be louder.
So, Commissioner Long, you're not
in
wrong.
front. Yeah.
You're not wrong. The reason that hotels and apartments are zoned that way, they're zoned that way on purpose. They know there's going to be noise there. I mean, you see apartments right on the freeway. That's just why they zone them that way. But if they did not have such a comprehensive acoustical report, I'd maybe asking some questions. And I don't see any walls out there. We have no sound walls here on our freeway. So.
Yeah, and somebody else brought it up too, their personal experience with traveling, following their kid around, watching sports. Did she leave? Oh, okay. I am in the same boat. My kids are in sports. They're traveling all the time. We've stayed in lots of hotels. They always seem to be near or on the freeway. And so I don't know if this is going to have any additional harmful effects than any other hotel that I've personally stayed in. But I hear what you're saying. I appreciate your opinion.
Yeah.
I also wanted to address the why am I having a brain fart? The workers that came to speak against the project. We get a lot of projects like this, and usually the workers come in and they support the project because they're going to be working on the project. This one, I understand you're not going to be. I wanted to address that and say that I heard you, I feel you. Unfortunately, I don't think it's an issue that we can use as a reason to deny the project. So, but I wanted to put it out there that I hear you, I understand you, I feel for you, but in terms of the choices that we have to approve or deny, I don't think that's something that we're able to rely on. Ty, do you agree?
So you cannot mandate that someone use a certain type of labor, but the conditional use permit is a discretionary action by the city council, and you can request, if the applicant so chooses, to discuss it with other community members, hold public meetings. Those are up to the discretion of the commission.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a second question here?
Yeah.
What is the ultimate height of the trees that are going to be on Antelope? Because there's different species of trees, and certain reach a maximum height. Each species has its maximum height. To me, this is a net benefit to the city, more than a net benefit. However, I am sensitive to the residents who live right there. So the two issues to me is the light pollution, which we've resolved because the lights can be facing the freeway. The second would be looking down on their properties. The height of those trees could mitigate that. Now, standard tree you'll see in a tract or in even a commercial area, they like to limit it to have a maximum height so they don't have to trim them. But if a tree is put in that it is higher, it could be a visual barrier to the neighbors. So can we pull up the landscaping schematic and touch on what is the species going in there, and what is its typical height at maturity.
Yeah, can IT please pull up the PowerPoint presentation? Great.
So each of those rounds with the things is a tree, and I don't know, there's not a legend here that.
Yeah, so we have the exhibits, which do identify 24-inch box trees along Antelope Road. You know, I guess maybe I can defer to the applicant or the representative to answer this. So according to the landscape plan here, there are 24-inch box trees, the camphor tree, the honey locust, and the Chinese elm drake. So I don't know off the top of my head what the maturity height is of those trees. I could do a look into that and get back to you. 40 feet. It's approximately 40 feet, according to someone from the audience here. But we need to look into that and get back to you. I don't have that off the top of my head.
So we've looked it up, and all of the three varieties range from 40 to 60 feet.
And the height
at
of the
maturity.
building is what?
At-
54 feet? Well,
at the
what's the visual
architectural-
of the top floor? The window of the top floor, not the roof, but the window of the top floor.
Approximately 40 feet.
Okay. So if that gives the residents any comfort, you'll have a visual barrier of the trees that would keep someone from looking into you. The light pollution will be non-existent because it's pointing towards the freeway. So to me, those are the two big issues, yeah.
Commissioner, I just want to add, although the project approvals wouldn't include approval of signage, the conceptual signage is shown on the elevations. And so if it does please the commission to add a condition that would restrict the signage, or maybe even just illuminated signage on those elevations facing the residential, I think that is something you can consider.
I would add that illuminated signage on the east side should be limited to the first floor only, because you're gonna have those, what do they call them, those, a monument sign coming in, which isn't gonna affect, you know, it doesn't go more, the light pollution there is maybe 10, 20 feet. Yeah.
So I think
I
if you were
support
looking
that.
for a condition,
Yeah.
it would be for building signage.
Building signage,
No
yeah.
illuminated building
Which
signage
I
on
don't
that.
think you're planning on doing it anyway, but if we could make sure there's no illuminated signage on the east side, you're gonna have your monument signs coming in.
I
We
support that,
satisfy,
yeah.
because you are very close to the neighbors there, and the trees, if they grow to maturity, will block them seeing you in your underwear. I mean, which I could, you know, privacy issues.
That's what we're getting down.
That's what we're getting at.
All right.
So, I will just say this, I'm sensitive to that because I used to live in a tract home that was very close to my neighbor. And I remember walking in my kitchen, partially clothed, and their window was open and we had an intimate experience. And I did not want that again.
This is why we had all of these people come to tonight's
That's
meeting,
right.
because now we're
That's
getting
right.
into
So I
it.
can feel your pain there. I am net for this project. I think it is a definite asset to the community. I will be careful how I say this, but people that come and make unreasonable claims, environmental claims, do not earn favor with me as far as not being a net benefit to this city. So I believe that the environmental concerns were addressed and that this is a net benefit to the city.
Agreed.
And I'd like to add to that, that's not in our purview, because cell towers come here all the time, and we can't get into anything but the aesthetics and the architecture and the itself. So as far as the iron workers, yeah, we love the iron workers, but the reason the builder here, the applicant is not using you is because it's prevailing wage. That adds to the cost, and you know and that's passed on to the public. My dad was a union carpenter, and he didn't build junk after he wasn't. Didn't fall apart. So I just wanted to add to that. As far as CARE, I don't know who funds CARE. I'm kind of curious now, but you guys are, well, I'll be quiet.
Thanks, Randy. This is our conversation amongst ourselves, so.
Yeah.
Anything else? I'm going to call on Cheryl first.
Thank you, Chair, members of the commission. I just wanted to provide a couple of responses to some of the public comment that was provided in some questions or statements. First, I want everyone to know that the technical studies associated with the CEQA document, particularly there was comments about the noise and traffic studies, those are available on the city's website as part of the public hearing package and staff report for this item. In terms of the capacity of the existing water lines, we do have a will serve letter from EMWD, and we have confirmed with them that the existing 24-inch line in the street will meet the capacity requirements for the project. And then in terms of whether hotel guests are permanent residents, the definition of hotels limits stays up to 30 days. They are visitors are deemed guests, not permanent residents. So thank you.
Yeah.
I did have a follow-up
Thank you,
on
Cheryl.
that, real quick on that last point, right? There was an issue raised that no residences within 500 feet of freeways. Do we have a requirement along those lines?
There are general plan policies that if residential uses are proposed within 500 feet of the freeway, additional analysis would be conducted.
Joe?
Yes. For this project, I just being next to the project is the Mount San Jacinto Community College. And a lot, normally for a community college or a university, they have a lot of guest speakers, guest lecturers coming to the university or the community college to do presentation. So with the hotel, it's going to be a tremendous benefit for those who have business to work with the community college. Now, north of this project is a large shopping center and a lot of restaurants. Right now, they don't have enough customer. And if you notice, the Savage restaurant is located right there. The best restaurant in California. So you have to stop by that restaurant. Yeah. So we have a lot.
Problem with visitors, they're always packed. I'm waiting for a table to get in
There we go, there we go. So that's another reason to go there, okay? And there are a lot of shops in the area. We welcome all the residents to visit that particular area with the hotel. And now we get guests coming from all over the country coming there. So that's an addition to our city, very positive addition. Thank you.
I wanted to also bring up, Joe, that you're concerned about walking or getting to the shopping center. Somebody mentioned the sidewalk along Antelope. Also, if you're standing in the parking lot of the hotel looking at the back of living spaces, to the left, on the left side of living spaces, there's a way to walk through. You can actually drive through there and walk through there and have direct access to Savage. So
excellent.
They'll learn that, and it'll be an easy way to get through the parking lot to the other part of the shopping center. So
Excellent.
I wanted to bring that up. All right, any other discussion? Yep. Okay, there are 2 resolutions for adoption. I need a motion and a second to adopt per the staff recommendations with the addition of the no signage on the east side of the building. Illuminated signage on the east side of the building.
I would say above the first floor. The first floor isn't going to, I mean, you're not going to eliminate a monument sign, right?
No, but if you clarify building signage.
Okay.
One more point of clarification. The applicant was asked about a monument sign, and they're not proposing one at this time, so it's not in their plan.
All right, check your screens for the voting. Seems to be working. Okay, congratulations, that passes. We're looking forward to it. Thank you. We have a lot of exciting stuff left on the agenda tonight, but if you don't want to stick around, I'll give you 30 seconds to hightail it out of here. Okay, moving on to item number 10, the Community Development Director comments. Do we have any tonight?
I do have a couple of comments.
Great.
First, I want to invite the commission and members of the public to a community meeting that the city will be conducting for our Menifee Innovation District, or our southern gateway area, south of Scott Road, just east of, or west of the 215. We have a community meeting on June 25th. I believe that's a Tuesday night, here in the council chambers, starting at 5 p.m. I want to let everybody know that the branch of Altura Credit Union in the Vons in the Cherry Hills Shopping Center has opened. We also expect the grand opening of Daiso in the Town Center Marketplace on June 22nd, I believe is the date. So they're looking at the end of this month for opening. And then last but not least, I want to wish happy birthday, or belated happy birthday, to our chair and Commissioner Madrid.
Happy birthday, Commissioner Madrid. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Cheryl. Let's see. Any committee activities to report on? Put your name up on the board. Okay. No activities. No committee activities to report on. Okay.
Well,
Any?
we had a momentary meeting with staff about the Innovation District and just a lowdown on what's coming forward, which everything we discuss will be presented at the community meeting. So, and we had a few questions. So, as we get more information, we will share that with you, and that's what we'll do.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Any future agenda item requests? Okay. It is